Call the meeting to order. Looks like we don't have anyone in the public besides what's on our agenda. Consider the minutes from our last meeting.
I move we approve the minutes from the last meeting.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. We get to talk about the South District bus stop. You guys want to come up and kind of tell us what you've been up to?
What have we been up to? Hopefully, it's visible a little bit of what the work Ethan's been putting into the project. Yeah, so we've been doing this, been working with Rachel, thankfully, to work on budget and timeline and things like that. I guess.
Lots of drilling.
Lots of drilling. Lots of drilling with the material. So the most recent model is using screws and mechanical joints rather than like welding, because at this size, at this scale, getting similar material, we found that we could go with some galvanized sheet metal, but you can't really weld it at that dimension, and because it's the zinc coating and things like that. So we opted for something that unfortunately takes longer at this stage, but should go faster with the full scale model, because we'll be switching over to welding instead of doing the mechanical joinery on it. So I think you all probably have been aware that we went a little bit over deadline, unfortunately, on the model, and that's more or less the extent of why, because it takes about 3 times as long to do that kind of joinery than it would welding, give or take 2 or 3 times. So, yeah, so that's that portion. I don't know. What questions do you all have? Where to begin?
Yeah, what did you learn from the scale models, and can you kind of rotate the bigger metal one around and should kind of describe how the chairlift would hang from it?
Okay.
I don't know if you can see it, but
Yeah.
the fingers, we spent a lot of time trying to get right. So they go in kind of like a sequence here, but these are what took the most time, because they have to be solid all the way through. It's not just like a outer coating. It's like they're solid fingers all the way through. But it was a bit harder than this one to get everything right, because steel doesn't like to bend as much as cardboard, so that was a challenge. But
Which is a good thing.
yeah, and I just think it would have gone a lot faster if I could have welded it. So that's what I'm hoping for the bigger one, is that welding it will go a lot faster, easier.
Yeah.
So how's the crane jib fit within it, and then the attachment point for the chairlift and stuff? Can you describe that?
Yeah. I mean, it fits. So it's hollow within, and it'll
Come through the thumb, sort of.
Sorry, can you guys, as much as you can,
Right,
can
yeah.
you speak in that? I know it's hard.
Yep. The sort of, I don't know, column base of the jib crane will be towards the front of like the wrist, as there's some space in there to allow for working and things like that. But then it comes out through along the like metatarsal of the thumb or whatever, out of the point where the index finger and the thumb meet, and that's where the pull from the ski lift chair will come down through a hole at that seam. Yeah, and so it attaches to the jib crane directly. We've been talking with our structural engineer about it. It doesn't sound like it matters whether it's whether we do. It'll just kind of depend on how things are fitting and measuring up with the actual materials when we're in the space. But it sounds like whether we go with a mechanical like bolt and nut system that already has a plate on it, if that's at the right length, then we'll be able to just go through the I-beam of the jib crane or attach a plate to be able to screw through there. Otherwise, we'll be welding it directly onto the I-beam of the jib crane. And on top of that, the ski lift chair, speaking with the structural engineer, we were asking about like additional, if there was any additional strengthening or materials that would be required, like trusses or something like that on it. And he suggested that if we just have a sleeve that basically goes about a third of the way down of a larger diameter pipe around it, then that would do that. That would take care of that piece.
To prevent it from like racking, you're saying?
Yep.
Interesting. It's great. So how tall, that's 1 to 4? So that's gonna be 4 times taller?
No, this is
It's
third.
1 to 3.
1 to 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep. So it'll be 12 feet.
12 feet tall.
Wow.
Sweet.
It's a big hand. How much does that model weigh, and then how much would the actual finished full-size model or full-size product weigh?
That is a great question. I can figure out those numbers for you. I don't
Sure.
have them in front of me.
With the
But,
sandbag, this is about 100 pounds.
Okay.
but the sort of skin of it itself, like, one of us is able to lift it up
Okay.
relatively well at the moment.
Just curious how, I mean, yeah, I didn't see y'all try to carry it in here, but yeah.
So
Yeah.
the sandbag goes in there to.
Just keep the base.
Keep it upright.
Yeah, gotcha.
Were there, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying, so to that point of like securing it and anchoring it, again, we are working with the structural engineer and have already discussed like depths and lengths to have footings and angle iron and how to have it attached at the base so that it'll be like footprinted out and we'll just be able to bolt right onto it to put it on there.
Okay.
Were there modifications that you made to your initial design for accessibility? And if there were, what were they?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about like from the very initial design where it looked like we had like chains or something like that,
Okay.
for accessibility purposes, I mean, a bench in general, like accessibility is a kind of a loose term, I think. There are clearances that we made sure is available around the bench itself, so that if somebody wanted to, I suppose, try to transfer themselves from a wheelchair to that, they would technically be able to, but now that I'm thinking about it, there are handrails as well, which, anyway, I can get into the weeds on that, I guess. But, so we do have it at like the height, seated height that within 17 19 inches for ADA, and then instead of a chain, which would swing or something like that, the rigid pole keeps it more stationary, so that like if somebody is leaning into it or something, then it won't move out of the way as they, sit down, kind of thing.
So then, do you want to introduce the amendment to the contract, or is like,
Sure.
or I don't know if you guys want to just talk about the schedule going forward, or what the best way to
That's a good
address the
point.
schedule.
So I guess our hope, and it fits within the schedule that we've been talking about, Rachel, a little bit. We would like to get materials in hands as soon as possible, because we've been talking with Kirkwood Regional Center, if we can utilize some space that they have. And we have sort of like a defined window of time to be able to be in there. And so if we can get our materials right away, that'll give us a good amount of time to get cracking and start fabricating and put it together. And then sort of like the second third of it or whatever, like through August or whatnot, we would be kicked out of that space, but we have a plan on where we can go in order to do like the finishing and things like that in an outdoor space. So the fabrication would be done. It'd be in 3 large pieces that I would want to have dry fit before we start doing the finishing. And then once it's finished, then we can schedule install and stuff like that and keep going from there. So yeah, right away would be mid-June or whatnot is kind of what we're aiming at for getting cracking on doing the fabrication and everything, getting materials. Having that done by end of July, so that we can do the finishing and everything throughout the month of August. And then that gives us the month of September to figure out if there's any like wiggle room that has happened because of things happening in the real world, or and like whatever would need to happen for installation, getting people coordinated and all that kind of stuff, which I guess makes me think about that I'd probably want to work with, you know, Julie and Ron on schedules for your crews on like what works best for helping with installation, and definitely what works best for timing in regards to prepping the site and getting a cement pad or a footing and all that kind of stuff, so.
Just a question I thought of.
Yeah.
Earlier when you were describing that, sorry to jump back in the
Yeah.
conversation, but will you have kind of a removable access panel or something to get into maintenance the crane if something
Yep,
needs adjustment or?
Right, exactly. That's a great question. We were thinking about one of the panels back here having hinges on it so that it'll
Just be a little door.
Yeah,
basically be a door.
awesome. Someone's little fort in there, you have to
Yeah.
lock it.
I would so hope that would be like locked or secured in some way. Yeah. We don't want children climbing inside it.
No, exactly.
Sounds like fun, but
I mean.
I think you can do whatever you want to keep squirrels out. They're going to get in anyway. but-
Right, exactly. But, I mean, we still do a similar thing of like a mechanical bolt and screw option just on like that one panel so that, you know, you can undo it and then go in and stuff, and a little less, so hopefully that's less accessible than a key, or like you break a key or lose a key or something like that. And I'm willing to discuss with any city staff on what the preference would be on that too, for maintenance and everything.
yeah. I mean, is there anything to add on kind of the amendment stuff?
I don't think so. So I can just review them really quickly in case anyone didn't have a chance to see them in the packet. But so there's two amendments. It would both be the second amendment to each of their agreements. The mentor agreement, so Ray's is very simple. His agreement really just outlines that he will provide the mentorship services to Ethan through the duration of the project, and then that makes him eligible if they complete the project for his final payment. The artist agreement, so Ethan's is where, you know, all the meat and the details are in. So really what we're doing with Amendment 2 is just refining that timeline schedule for completion of fabrication, site prep, and installation. It outlines the payment schedule. If you all choose to approve these amendments today, I would just recommend you make a motion to approve the amendment, a substantially similar amendment, because we noticed a couple maybe typos that we're going to correct, and then we also discussed this would be unusual for the city, but it should help the project be expedited, that instead of me making a payment to them to then pay the vendor, they'll have the vendors invoice me directly. So I don't know if that's something that we want to always do with projects, but in this case, since we're trying to keep it moving forward, I'm willing to do that, and I think it's a good idea. So we would make that change. The revised budget in front of you is what we got just today from Ray and Ethan. So this puts the project within that $24,000 maximum. So it's a little different than what was in your agenda packet, but if you have questions about it, either one of us can help answer this.
I just noticed for the structural engineer, it has 30 hours at $100 an hour, and it shows $5,000 in the
Yep.
budget line.
Nope.
Is it 5,000 or is it 3,000?
It's 5,000.
It is 5,000,
Yep.
okay, all right.
I was wondering the same thing.
Yeah, sorry, Rachel, I forgot to mention that.
Yeah, that's okay.
That's what happens when everybody's copying and pasting things all over the place.
I just think it's exciting to see it progressing to this point. So appreciate that you're sticking to it and we're
Yeah.
finally seeing the models and. it's
Yeah,
nice.
the mock-up looks great. I'm excited to see it all welded.
I guess just out of curiosity, like after the final version is built and installed, what happens to this giant, relatively giant hand that's still dwarfed by the final one? It
That's-
just sort of sits in somebody's studio until they figure out what to do with it?
I suppose it can, but I mean, I guess maybe technically it's owned by the city.
Oh, I guess, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't know.
Take it from my office. No, just kidding.
You're welcome to keep it.
Okay, cool.
It will end up in my office, so.
Is this orange one, is that paper or?
Yeah, this is this
Okay.
is cardstock.
Cool.
That was made about 10 months ago.
Yeah.
This one was about 6 months ago, and this one was a week ago.
Great.
I actually think it's really important for the artist to retain that, that in printmaking, I know that that is usually retained by the master printer or the person who makes the work, and because it's such a great example for you, to serve you with future clients and things rather than, and it's not intended to be the work of art, so it makes a lot of sense for that to stay with the artist.
That's great. So.
Got to give you a hand.
I knew the pun was going to come.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the amendments as clarified by Rachel.
Seconded?
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks,
great
guys.
work.
Thank you. Thanks. You. All right, high five.
So feel free to take it, you won't just disrupt us or distract us, and
no, I can
I'll
go
follow
push
up
it
with you guys after the meeting, and we can go from there, okay? Thank you very much.
All right. Sculptor showcase selections.
Sure. So I compiled, thank you all for submitting your scores. I compiled those scores on a sheet. I can pull that up here. So I also have photos of each of these, so as we get into decisions, if you feel like you need to look at any of them closer, let me know and I can pull those up. But as our process went, we had each of you score the submissions individually. I compiled them here, so the way our scoring system would work, it would be the lowest scores actually that would be considered the most preferable. So those that I have highlighted in green, which would be this first one, Tim Adams Poppy. Let me scroll down so I can get titles. The second, Tim Adams, the Life Leaf by Hildy de Bruin. I don't know how to pronounce this.
Gaia.
Gaia, okay. Gaia, also by Hildy. Hydraulic Drum 3 by Kristen Garnett. And then Writing Figure by Skip Willits. So those would be the ones that rank the best. And then that only accounts for 5. We have 8 sculpture pads, so there were 6 more that were tied. So I think maybe you could all decide if you feel like those first 5 that scored the best you agree with and would like to move forward with those, and then you could decide based upon the next 6 that tied.
Am I misreading this, or is that the Stainless River by Skip Willits? That's a different number. That's a 19 there, is that not? So it's not the same as those that rated 16? Or if it was entered incorrectly?
Why do you think it's incorrect?
Well, it just says 19 there. I don't.
So there's 5 that have the score of 16, and then that one has the score of 19.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and that does add to 19. Oh, yeah, you summed it.
So it
yeah.
would just be the 5 that,
Yeah.
yes. Sorry, this
And
is.
we have 8, so we have 5 that have sort of risen to the top numbers-wise, and then we would be needing to pick 3 of maybe that crop of 16s to fill our.
Certainly. I mean, you can also decide
right,
if
that's
there
an
are some-
idea,
yeah.
obviously, yeah, but yes.
One quick clarifying question. I mean, I think the hydraulic jump one is really beautiful, but it doesn't fit on a 4x4.
That's correct.
So is that even a possibility to install that somewhere? Or is it kind of automatically disqualified because it doesn't fit?
Trying to think of the pads and if any of them are, they're all just,
Yeah, they're all 4x4s. It would be easier to not accept it so that we stay consistent into the future too, because if we start saying we would expand one here or there, I think we would have issues with installation.
It doesn't really look like it would cantilever well off the edges of it if it was like centered on it or something. So it's too bad. So if that one's disqualified, then we need 4 more, is that right?
So it might be easier to say which of those, which, we only have to take one of the 16 out, right?
I mean, if we agree that the 4 sort of greens are the ones that are all shoe-ins at this point, then yeah, we would just need to eliminate one of the 16 score group.
I would just say to eliminate one of the 3 by the same artist.
I was thinking the same thing, that Tim
Yeah.
has 3 that would just be included in there, just in the interest of sort of spreading the love a little bit.
I would say that, and I would vote for the concentric one to be the one that's not chosen. It's just seems very similar to the ones we've had, the 2 previous selections from him.
I think that would be
Mhm.
You would still have 2 then.
Yeah, he would still have 2 at that point.
Yeah.
So this would be-
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I think they both had multiple sculptures in past years,
Right.
too.
Okay.
I'd say, I mean, like, if we look at the artists who have submitted pieces, this selection would only leave 1 submitter out of the project.
That's a good
Everyone would have
Oh,
at
yeah.
least 1,
Yeah.
except that one.
Interested to see how Shelley hopes,
Yeah.
There's just no information about it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know?
and it being the one that does not currently exist.
Right.
I looked at her and she does soft work and it looked really playful and fun.
But then also a design that is a slide, but children aren't allowed on it.
Yeah, I get nervous anytime you put play equipment out without.
Yeah, children will play on literally
Yeah.
anything, so.
So it sounds like it's all of them, the green and the yellow, except for
This one?
that one.
Mhm.
Okay. So there seems to be a consensus. Someone stop me if I'm wrong. Then the next step would be to choose locations for each of these. So I can, especially for our new members, I'll just quickly review where these are located. So we have, let's see, I'll start. We have one in Scott Park, towards the dog park area.
Kind of a real natural setting there. It's in amongst a bunch of trees right along a trail, kind of a quiet area.
The other is at Mercer Park, so it's just kind of north of the playground,
Yep.
along the road there.
That's the opposite. That is high energy, high visibility spot.
We have a series of 3 on Riverfront Crossings Park along the river.
And in the past, we've tried to choose 3 that kind of go
Yeah.
together
That's
for that one. Yeah.
Should we start with that?
That's a good idea.
Find 3 that pair well and then,
Sure, I'll just review the last 2 spots. So the next is on the Iowa River Trail, so just south of Riverfront Crossings Parks as you cross the pedestrian bridge. It's right there. And then we have another that is kind of behind Hills, what is that, Hills Bank?
It's at the entrance to the trail at Terry Trueblood. So.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So the 7th is down farther on the Iowa River Trail, so just before the McAllister Bridge. And then we have one at the entrance to Terry Trueblood.
Yeah.
That's kind of fronts the road a little bit more.
Yeah.
So those are locations. I'll pull the.
It might be easier to pull out the really quiet one and the really playground fun one first,
Mhm.
and then look for the 3 that match up for Riverfront Crossings.
we've
I
always
mean-
had, go ahead.
I'd say if we're looking for one that's, loud and high energy, exuberance is probably the most obvious one there.
For Mercer.
For Mercer,
Yeah.
yeah, probably.
He's kind of held that spot
He's
down,
kind of had
hasn't
the
he?
same, it's been the same artist, but he fits
Yeah.
well with that
Yeah.
location, so I don't think that's a problem.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which one?
First
Oh,
one.
that would be kind of nice to have a little color back in that park there at that
Mhm.
spot, so, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Is writing figure 2 similar to the Silver's?
Which one?
The writing figure?
That one, I
Is
feel
it-
like with writing all over it, it's one that sort of invites looking at it a little longer maybe than the average piece. So that would probably want that somewhere where somebody could stand there and like really take it in for a while.
I think Riverfront Crossings, doesn't it have some wire, a wire piece at the entrance?
Mhm.
So that pillar, one might kind of go with that.
The Mechanics of Grace, is that the one?
It says,
The one next to
pillar.
it, pillar.
Oh.
Well, I could see kind of the three tall ones
It's
there,
next to the one that
Mechanics
looks
of
like a
Grace,
pillar.
Pillar, and Flight of Butterflies. And
Yeah.
then the two leaf ones on either side of McAllister. Cherry Tree Blood on one side and that one on the other.
Mhm.
Just as ideas, I'm just.
So then that leaves writing figure for the,
And it just
One-
off of Highway.
number
6.
6.
Yeah, that'd be a good one there too.
Mhm.
I think those are, they all kind of fit in the right spot.
That does feel good.
Did you catch all those?
Not quite.
Okay,
Okay,
so number 10 is at 6, the Iowa River Trail south of
Okay.
the park.
The three.
Flight of Butterflies would be in RFX.
Yep.
Do you guys have a preference on which order these three would go in?
Sort of feels like Mechanics of Grace is like so heavy.
Yeah, that one.
The center one.
That's probably the middle one, yeah.
And then no preference on what flanks it.
But yeah, like if Pillar is to the north, because that'd be the one that's closer to that wire piece that's at the entrance.
Okay.
Oh, good point.
Snelson.
Yep.
The Snelson sculpture, yes. And then these two were Terry
Yeah,
and
so
Sherwood.
maybe the blue one on the south side of McAllister. And the brown one on the north side.
Yeah. So that brown one would then be kind of in among that tree area there.
Yeah, I think that would be nice.
Rachel, just, I don't know if it might get confusing, the numbering that you have on the site plan versus the numbering you're using in the spreadsheet are different.
Yeah, I'll put that there. Sorry, I was thinking of it differently. Okay, so this is actually, oh. 4.
Yep.
2.
2, 3. I think that would say 3, yep.
Is that everything?
Hey,
Oh,
everyone
that
feel
would be
good
so
about
neat.
these? They'll be there for 2 years, so.
No, that's true.
Take your time.
Are any of these artists new to us or this project?
I believe Jonathan is new. The others have all showcased with us.
Okay, just curious.
Which stuff? Can't remember which one Kristen did before.
I'm not sure if she has one currently, but she has
Yeah.
had them in the
So
past.
I like her stuff.
She may, yeah.
So then,
I guess for Poppy, what's the dimensions on that piece?
That's a good question. We should get those. I don't have the applications in front of me.
It looks awful wide.
Do you want to select a backup for that one?
Crossroad is the next lowest, right?
Like a 16.
Or I guess 10.
I would
Yeah,
probably,
16.
I think the other one would be
Tim, yeah, the
concentric.
concentric would be the
Yeah.
other,
That'd be okay.
yeah,
Be the backup.
as a backup for that spot in Scott Park.
Same artist too then.
Concentric would be a backup.
Yeah, and it's still got, I mean, it's got sort of a leaf motif to it,
Oh,
so.
that's true. Then you do 2 of his either way.
It said the width on that, on Poppy it says 5 feet. I
Oh.
don't know exactly where the installation pieces are. I don't know if it's, if there's a framework, below. If there's a framework below it that you could make it work. Yeah.
So it looks like it's at the edges.
Okay, well, I can talk to Tim
Yeah,
about that.
Yeah.
He'll
Tim's
probably-
pretty good
yeah.
about it.
Yeah, I mean, he may be
He's
able to
got lots
modify
of
it to
that's a
make
good
it
point.
fit, so.
Yeah.
Experience. Okay. If you feel good about these, we can make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the discussed pieces for their discussed locations for the project.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Great.
All right. Moving on to the fiscal year 2025 budget priorities.
Okay, I'm gonna try to pull up here, so. Okay, so a couple months ago, I had done a little bit of budget analysis over the last couple of years of our public art budget for you all to just take a look and consider as we think about how we want to prioritize spending for fiscal year 2025. So thank you all for participating in the budget survey. So I included in your packet what those results were. And we can talk about that, or if you have questions or other comments you want to share, we can certainly do that. But kind of based on a combination of factors, so what I heard through this survey, the projects that we have in the pipeline that will be getting carried over, and then those strategic plan priorities that we discussed, half a year ago or so. I put together a draft FY 2025 kind of spending plan. So the new fiscal year will start July 1. And I can just review this budget for you. So first of all, we'll have several carryovers again. So we'll have 2 significant projects that will be in the works. So the first is the South District Bench project, and then the other would be that Lucas Farms neighborhood project that we're planning to work with the Meskwaki Settlement School on. So they were going to pick that back up in the fall semester. So we'll have those 2 projects, which will be taking kind of some time and capacity, and then the Sculptor Showcase, we've just made those selections. That's really just timing of when that will get paid out to the artists. And then Dave Dennis is still working on his current maintenance contract. He has to finish Birds of Flight still, so he's working on that. And again, that will just be a timing issue of when we'll make that payment. So those will be what I'll request for carryover through our finance department. And then our fiscal year 2025 approved budget by City Council is $55,500. So that's a $5,000 increase from last year. I requested that knowing we had some priorities for addressing maintenance, and that was approved. So that's really great news. So again, kind of based on what we've talked about and what I saw in that survey and our strategic plan priorities, I put about $15,000 in the maintenance line. My hope is that we can still do another maintenance project or 2 if we can, but what I'd really like to get done this year is a condition assessment of all of our public art inventory. So I've started talking to a few firms who offer that, and I think we can meet, what the ballpark estimates they've given me so far. I think we'd be able to do that. I put a similar amount in the public art matching grant program that we have been allocating out for the past couple of years. And then there's $2,000 in miscellaneous, which would be for that Longfellow Tunnel project we work with Southeast Junior High on. Any maybe miscellaneous, just knowing that we're going to be updating that strategic plan, there may be, planning materials or something like that that we need to plan ahead for. And then usually each year we'll have different plaques that we need to get printed or something like that. So just a little bit of buffer in the miscellaneous, but then I put the rest in the opportunity fund. And that could be used perhaps for other grant programs. It could bolster the public art matching grant program, or maybe another opportunity or priority that comes up. Grant programs was rated highly by you all in the survey. I also think they're a great way to you know, get the funds out in the community. What you don't see here is another large public art project. I think it would be probably in our best interest to this year focus on completing those two that we've been carrying over for so long, and then some of these planning efforts like the condition assessment and the strategic plan. Of course, if you all feel differently, we can shuffle any of these budget numbers around. Also, today, it's not like you have to vote on it or anything like that. It's just for discussion so that I have guidance going forward and know what to prioritize. So again, this can also change throughout the year, but it just gives me a guidepost, really.
That's great, thank you. And I really like the idea of having that opportunity fund to follow up our updating of the strategic plan. Like that actually would help us to be able to move forward and implement something that stakeholders might come to us with some good ideas, or, you know, and as our projects get done, we can initiate.
I would suggest that maybe, I like the idea of having that opportunity fund undesignated, but holding off on deciding what that would be until we had the condition assessment done and the strategic plan update. Because I'm honestly concerned that when we have an actual condition assessment, we'll find there's some other large issues in the art we already have that might need to be addressed. So,
Usually with those reports.
well, and it would be nice to catch up. I mean, since we could focus on completing the two projects we have underway, if we get catch up on maintenance in 1 year, then we'd be in such a better place to take off for more new things in the future.
Yeah.
So,
We've already discovered that those wooden pieces are in bad shape, so it's certainly possible that there's some ticking time bombs out there waiting for us when we get an expert in to look at them, so.
The other thing I'll point out, because we moved that sculptor showcase to 2 years, so in FY '25, we wouldn't have that expense, but then in '26, we would have that again, off year the following year, et cetera.
What's the
The
amount
sculptor
of that
showcase,
again?
18,000,
18. Oh, right.
assuming it all stays the same.
Mhm.
Do you need, like, approval?
I don't need a vote or anything. I just wanted to present this and make sure there was nothing that you guys were really concerned about, or if you had felt strongly about anything, would love to hear that, but we can certainly talk about it going forward. I would say on the inventory condition assessment, I was thinking to do that most efficiently. Like I said, I'm getting quotes from a few different firms. Might be best if we just have a small group kind of decide which one we feel good about to bring to the large group so it doesn't take long. Andrea mentioned that she'd be interested in serving on that, so if there's one or two more who are, let me know and I'll include you.
When would that take place?
Some over the summer, so next couple months or two. Okay.
I would, but
Okay. Thank you. All right. Well, if you have no comments,
Thank you, that's my
Yeah,
comment.
It's a great analysis.
And I hope that miscellaneous and the maintenance are, well, busy, not optimistic, so they stay that way.
Yeah, just thinking ahead to '26, if you have 18,000 in there, hopefully we don't need, because that would take up basically the rest of it, unless you were able to use that 15,000 of maintenance for a project, because otherwise there's not really a big chunk of money left over for a large project. If we finish the projects we have currently going on this year, update maintenance, it'd be nice to have enough cash to initiate a new project that year, but.
yeah. And thinking about, maybe I'm wrong, but thinking about the timing of when we make Sculptor Showcase payments, we carry it over every year, so you may be able to get to the following fiscal year. It would just be at the very end,
That'd be kind of nice.
if I'm thinking
to
of that correctly, right?
Have that like every other year, a large project in Sculpture Showcase.
Because those are made in August, and the new fiscal year would start July 1.
Mhm. Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Anything else on that? Okay.
Cool.
We're already to staff updates.
So for staff updates, so the two on here, two others I want to not forget to mention. So our colleague, Andrea, is helping bring together Iowa Arts Festival this weekend. I know they're still looking for volunteers, so if you'd like to support them, visit their webpage and sign up for an empty slot. It's kind of a fun event to volunteer at. And then I just wanted to let you all know I registered for the Iowa Arts Summit, which is on June 18th. So I'll attend that in Ankeny.
I'm going to.
Oh, good. I'll see you there.
Yep.
And hopefully we learn something useful to bring back to the
Yeah.
rest of you. Yeah. Other than that, the two updates I had noted, we're still working on the arts stakeholder meeting. It's just been a scheduling challenge with the guest speaker that we have, and then Merge is doing a remodel right now, so that should be finished by the end of this month. The guest speaker is available in July, so hopefully we can get that pulled together and give all the guests enough notice. And
Which speaker?
Jill Wells. So she is an artist who's really focused on accessibility, inclusivity, and participatory art. She serves on the Greater Des Moines Arts Foundation board and has a wide breadth of experience. So after talking to a few people in our network, she seemed like a great fit of just, encouraging maybe this group to think differently about public art. So
Nice.
it should be exciting. Yeah.
So are you still narrowing in on a date, or do you need us to look at our calendars or anything, or?
I have to wait for her to give me some
Gotcha.
date options and then confirm. Merge has let me know when they believe the remodel will be done, but we all know how that goes. So I'll hold off, but I'll work with those of you who said you wanted to attend, because we can't meet a quorum, and we'll find the date.
Oh, yeah.
And then the next one is just noting that our next meeting falls on July 4th, which is a city holiday. So we need to decide if we want to reschedule that, not hold the meeting. If we reschedule it, we should probably set a date today.
Is there any important things we need to talk about, like, with either of the projects that are ongoing? I guess the Lucas Farms isn't until the fall.
Correct. There shouldn't be anything that you need to approve with the bench project. We could do like an email update or something like that if needed.
Yeah.
So it doesn't sound like there's anything like pressing for our attention next month, so it doesn't seem like maybe the meeting is necessary.
Nothing that I'm aware of currently, so yeah.
Good.
Okay.
Just wait till August.
So we'll plan to cancel the July meeting, enjoy your holidays, and
Yeah.
we'll see you in August.
Volunteer for Jazz Fest instead.
For sure, yes.
There you go.
Volunteer for Jazz
Andrew, I'll
Fest.
appreciate
I'll
that.
keep the subcommittee busy on the inventory, and we'll keep things moving forward.
Great. I think we're to the end.
Motion to adjourn?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks.